And if you do pop on the channel and you want to ask questions, by all means. What we're going to do, we're going to talk about the circle of fifths today. I got a little bum hand, so one of the things I'm going to need to do is slow down, grab my markers, and show you how I construct the circle of fifths. And I would say if you're at home watching this as well, slow down, and you've got questions, why not jump, put your brain around this, how it goes. What you'll find is the circle of fifths will start to have little things that make it kind of cool, help you navigate your instrument while playing it. And the end result is you just become a little bit more aware of where you are musically, and then how to relate to other places and other, instruments as well. It helps to modulate. It helps in communication when talking. See, I was having one of my students try treble clefs. Drum student. Long story short, and make sure that all of students that I do, kids, keiki kapuna alike, they share in the idea that, music's universal. I do have a piano here, which is great, but if you have an instrument, if you have an instrument of your own and you want to ask questions about that, like if it's ukulele, if it's guitar, whatever the case may be, I would love to be able to answer any questions you might have. So the first thing I really do, I guess I should ask a question here for the one person that's here. If you could see what's going on. Just tell me if the board's legible. I'll write in dark colors, and I assume, I'm hoping this isn't backwards. So when I write this, hello, aloha, is that going the right way for you at home? Right there, the one person that's watching? Hopefully it is. If not, I could write backwards, or I could turn the camera around. Either way. Boom, boom, boom. Well, either way, circle fifths. I generally start off by just drawing a circle. When I get that circle drawn, I take a look at the top and I put my key that has absolutely no sharps and it has no flats. What I then do is I kind of go through the process of seeing that there are fifths going this way and fourths going this. That's a good telltale sign on what we're going to be doing to accomplish the concept of basic chord construction. We generally find middle C on a piano by looking at the 2 black notes and the 3 black notes. When you play your thumb and all 5 fingers down from the 2 black keys going down a half step or a minor second, we find ourselves at middle C or C4. When we squish all 5 of these, the concepts that we'll talk about in here are related to a hand mechanism. 1, 3, 5 can be considered a chord, a triad that has 3 notes. We'll talk about that later, probably in another video. But at this point, what I really want to do is kind of just establish my chords both to the left and the right. So to the right, I'm going to say C, D, E, F, G. So what I'd like to do is just put a G right there. I'm going to follow that process all the way through, but for right now, what I'd really like to do is grab another color, maybe red, and I'm going to put that the other way. Now, I'm going to say C, C, D, E, F. Wonderful. So fourths, we can see that a C going that way. Here is a great observation if you're with me thus far. F to C, F, G, A, B, C, out of the possible 7 notes in a musical alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. When we take into account that no matter where we are, there's going to be 2 types of ideas. a chromatic scale or a diatonic scale, both of which have a certain number of notes. The one we're most likely going to be talking about right now is going to be the diatonic. All right, so bear with me, and if you're having fun at home, thumbs up, like, subscribe, and join every week. What we're going to do here is jump back into our flats and sharps explanation. So what I want to do is say that these are going to be your flats over here. These are going to be your sharps. And of course, there are no naturals right now because every single one of these are the naturals unless we talk about a key that is actually named a sharp or a flat, which you'll see. So let's continue the process. 5 notes from G, including G. G, A, B, C, D. Oh yeah. So this process going around would show us that some of this has some rhyme and reason. And what I'd like to do is show you that when we go in the circle fifths, we lay out all these different notes which keep going in 5s. And you'll find that when we get to here around the circle that we already have an F. If you're counting at home and playing with me here, we'd be counting B, C, D, E, F. The way we would see that is in the key of B, we would have 5 sharps. Now we're going to go over that in just a minute. Hang with me. But the F sharp would be the next one in order because the little trick I'll teach you is there's a mechanism to see how many sharps and flats are in what key. If you only learn one side, you automatically know what the other side is. Wait for that. This will be at the end of the video. When we go to our next note, we're going to find ourselves at another C because remember, F to C is a 5th, so F sharp to C sharp absolutely would be a 5th. Another keen observation about the circle fifths would be this. When you see these 2 sharpen and these 2 sharpen and know that that's now a P5, a perfect 5th, C, D, E, F is a 4th going this way, but it's a 5th, F, G, A, B, C going this way. Meaning, when you play an F here and a C up top here, the same distance would be between the C and the G, the D and the A. See where we're going here? Concept behind this is wherever you lay your hand on a piano, as long as you exhibit a note, which is your root, and then 5 notes out as a perfect 5th, no matter what key it is, then you just kind of pick where the minor is or the major is. There are only 2 keys on this entire thing that don't do that. That would be B flat, or A sharp, and harmonically speaking, and then B natural, or C flat. When we had those, we would have a black key to a white key, and then you pick your major, or you pick your minor. And then when we had the B, we have our 5th to a black, so white to black, which is great. And then you pick your major, or you pick your minor. That's the reason why when I talk about major or minor, you'll see me say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 3, 5 is a triad, and when we flatten the 3rd, we get a minor chord. When we flatten the 3 and we flatten the 5, we would have a diminished. And then if we have a 1, 3, 5 and we raise that 5th, it would be an augmented. That way we know our spellings. This is going to be fun when we go back through here, and I just want to point out, in the key of C major now, just only doing the sharps, C major would have how many sharps and flats? Well, if you are one of my students or you know me, I generally go right on the forehead and say 0. So the concept is if we've got 0 sharps, I'm just going to put that there and it's got 0 flats. I just want to say that for both sides. C acts as like the noon placement for those of you who remember what a watch is. Other than that, going this way, G would have 1 sharp. That sharp is F sharp. And watch the mechanism unto which I'm doing here. When I go through here, I know that D has 2 sharps, one of which is going to be the sharp that was in G. And then when I want to know what the other sharp is, I go 5 notes from that sharp. Remember, F to C is a 5th. So with all honesty, you can say F, G, A, B, C, make that C sharp. Now we have 2 in the key of D. If you're seeing the pattern here, which I hope you are, and if anybody has a question about it, I'll hit the live chat thingy here, see if anybody says anything. No? If you see anything up here that makes sense or doesn't make sense, please point it out, maybe if you dig it. When we have 3 sharps, we're just going to carry these sharps over like those 2. Are we still leery about what we do here in the circle fifths? We go 5 notes to find the keys that have sharps. We go 5 notes once we know that sharp. And here's just what I always say. The first sharp is the F. It keeps going from there. If you see this mechanism, that means that A has 3 sharps, and it must have a F sharp, C sharp, and a, you guessed it, G sharp. Another thing, if somebody here is very super keen about what they're seeing, the G note in the 7 notes is the note right before A. It is the 7th. It would be the diminished. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. So when we go through the process of seeing this, let's just stop really quick. If I told you that there are 5 in the key of B, we would automatically know that it would be the F, the C, oops-a-doozles, and the G sharp that's in B, or that's in A. That happens to also be in E. E has 4 sharps. But without even quite knowing that the last sharp here is D, because it is 5 notes from G, bop, you would have a full mechanism. So do I need to write these? Absolutely not. But when you're writing your first circle of fifths, or your second, or your fourth, or your 300th, or you turn it into artwork and do something pretty awesome and creative with the color schemes and placements, you'll notice a mechanism that you'll be able to use this like a little dial. I consider this to be like a calculator. It's a tool for playing. So when we have F, C, G, D, if we had somebody on the chat, I would say, hey, what's the next one? But we can do it like this. It's either a minor second before the key we're looking at. So what's the note that comes right before B? Well, let's count it. B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Shoots. So the next one's going to be A sharp. When we follow this procedure all the way through, you'll see it spells out your keys for you. Some people who are into music use these little mechanisms like every good boy does fine to explain the line system on the treble clef. How do I explain this while being delicate? While learning this is fine for some people, for other people, it just is more information that is not needed. So when deducing that, if you're one of those people that doesn't really need some sort of word mechanism, you just rather remember facts and have those be the points, the E is the bottom line and the E is the top space. That is a P8. That sounds like this. So when you see these 2 notes, it's visual recognition. If you were to see this note, and this note, those 3 notes on these lines would be the E, G, and the B note, and that looks like an E minor chord. For me, it was much easier to go back and relearn all the things that I did by understanding C to C sharp is a diatone, it's a minor second, it's a clash. I love it! And when you play C sharp to D, you get another one. But those 2, when you add those 2 minor seconds, you get a major second. When adding on another minor second, you get a minor third. So the construction of a major chord would be a major third plus a minor third. That gives you a major. When you flip it, it gives you a minor third plus a major third, which is a minor. Augmented would be a major third plus a major third, and diminished is a minor third plus a minor third. That's chord construction. There is one more I have to finish, but I don't want to get into that right now. Let's finish this up. When we go through the process of seeing A, B, C, D, E. You betcha E sharp is an F. You have to call it as such because in the key of F sharp, I don't say things twice. Therefore, I wouldn't say F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp. Oh, I'm saying chromatically. Hold on. F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, F. It just wouldn't make sense, so we don't do it that way. Concept we go through here is what would C sharp have? Oh, you betcha, all the sharps. And again, the last 2 in C sharp are kind of funky, but once you grasp the concept that an E sharp is an F natural, and that a B sharp, you betcha, is a C natural, you can see how a C sharp is our half step, our minor second when completing a scale. This is all the sharps. Now, for those of you who are with me, or for those of you who will watch this later, check out this concept. When we see the circle of fifths as having an other side, I drill this into my students because I find it is the hardest way to learn this, therefore the best. When you see how many sharps G has, it has 1. Now we know that there are 7 notes besides the 8th, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, 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 do. When we do that, we see the 7 notes that we have are a seniority of a root, a tonic. We have a secondary note, which is our subtonic. It's right next to our root. It holds suspension. Our 3 is the median. The median is the determiner of the major or the minor. So when we see the major, the minor shift, that's just meaning that the median is the function. When we go past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they become 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, so on and so forth. But we only really utilize the 9, boop, boop, which is the 2nd, the 11th, which is the 4th, and then the 6th, which is the 13th. So the concept is, up top, the 10 still functions as the median. Don't get confused as the 10th. So when we go through the process of seeing this, if I said C sharp has all the sharps and C major has none of the sharps, and I said to F sharp, which note of the F sharp is not included in the 6 sharps? Let's go through here. F is there, C is there, G is there, D is there, A is there, E is there. When we go here, B was what was added, so that's the one that's missing. It just so happens when you take a natural note, like an F major, we have an F major, G minor, A minor, and then when we go to our flat 4th, you'll notice that the flat 4 is the note that's missing. So how many flats and sharps are in the key of F? No sharps, and it has 1 flat. It has a B flat. Ooh, let's write it in a different color, just for those of you out there who enjoy colors as I do. Do 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 do. Oh, I said I'd write in darker colors. How about a brown? Okay, so when we're going this way, the best thing I could say about watching this process, and I hope you're still with me at this point, ask questions that need to, the note that was missing here was the B. So in key of F, oh no, that one doesn't work. I just bought these. Brown. All right, so B flat, oh, so nice and new. Wonderful. So you have a B flat in the key of F. When we keep going this way, you could count it out in 4ths. So F, G, A, B. That 4th would give you another B, but guess what? You already had a B, so remember we're being B flat. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I'm gonna just start writing out the flats, and we'll return back to the concept of if you know your sharps, the opposite amount would work. How many sharps are in the key of F sharp? There are 6. How many notes in a diatonic scale besides the perfect 8? There are 7. So that means in the key of F, there is one, solamente, only that one. In the key of B, since it's the next one on the flats, we already have the thought process going. There's gonna be 2, but let's work that. When we go to B, how many sharps and flats are there? There are 5. How many notes are in a diatonic scale besides the perfect 8? There are 7. So if you take away 5, you have 2. So when we have those 2 are going to be B flat, and then we add the next flat. Well, you can either look at which ones you added on and throw an E flat up there, or you could just look at this. The notes sequentially that come out when you play this are these notes. D flat, G flat, and then of course C flat. My G doesn't look great. That looks like a 6. There we go. C flat. So see where we're going with this? Whilst we wrote it out, we will have all these cool different notes, and I'm gonna write it in blue, just because I'd like to see it a little bit more. And I'm gonna erase it. Cool. So in the key of F, remember, we had B flat. B flat, we had B flat and E flat. In the key of E flat, you bastard, we had B flat, E flat, and then A flat. I write them that way. Some people write them that way. Heck, you can even write them the way that they appear on the treble clef or the bass clef. Preferably you do both, just so you get used to doing it. When we do it this way, the top line of the treble clef is the F. So when we have 1 sharp, we would know that's the key signature of G. If we were doing 2 sharps, we would go from the treble clef. When we do this on the treble clef and draw this, that makes a lowercase g, signifying that that is the G line. G, A, B, C, that's where our next sharp goes. So if you were writing these out, I would just write this out as being that. When we get down to something like this, you would actually follow the insignation. You would go through the sharp of F, seniority of G, all the way up. right here, it would be the third one out. You keep doing that, you go up and down in a fashion, and the end result is you get a pattern scheme that is recognizable by just seeing the amount of sharps and flats that are in something. Groovy? So, what we're going to do is we're going to keep on with the concept of this, because this is by far one of my favorite things to see on the circle fifths. Then we're going to jump into another concept, and I have to wrap it up before I have a student. Right hand drums today. So, what we have here, going through the process with the blue, A has 4 sharps. Let's take it back to the old school. Whoop, whoop, whoop. A has 3 sharps. If there are a total of 7 notes, besides the 8th, which is the same as the do, if you have 3 notes out, ooh, painful, that means that 4, when you go flat, are going to be an A. So you have B flat, E flat, A flat, and then if you just follow the rule of thumb, quite literally, there's going to be a D flat right after. I'm going to follow suit just because I think we have the concept, but I want to jump right back on that concept of following the sharps and the flats. What this does for each other, it allows the sharps and the flats to work as a kind of cohesive back and forth unit. When learning chords, it would make sense that if you're going to be playing, let's say, an F, A, C, and that F, A, C would determine what an F major is. When you go to an F sharp, we should not be weirded out by still maintaining that 5th distance, going a half step forward or a minor second, defining the 3rd. And what happens while doing the physical action of playing chords, whether it's on a piano or a guitar or an ukulele, our brains will adjust to where the notes are. We will start seeing chords as being something that can shift. And it's shown naturally in the key of C by just playing a no sharps and flat scale allows us to go up the vertically in intonation while maintaining a 1-3-5, no matter what we're doing it in. We could change the major, minor, diminish, and that's essentially what music is in rhythm with tempo, adding the next dimension. But the concept behind that is all these things are reliant on one basic fact, that you're having fun, and the mechanisms that you use to remember how to play these items are the mechanisms that you will regurgitate when you have all the time in the world. Here's the weirdest one. When you have all the time in the world, somehow becomes music if you could lay I don't have a lefty, but if you could lay a bass line over the top of that, you get 2 corresponding melodies, which you can write out, put harmonies to, change the modes, change the scales, and then make a little ditty. And then when you do, you find that knowing that a B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, and then F flat, you guessed it, an E note, becomes C flat. Knowing that that is the same as do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, no matter what key we do it in. If we play in said key, you would still have the same momentum and movement. I can, in the key of B, call this B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. Or I could just call it in a different key and call it C flat if I wanted to. But each one of those, C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, they are harmonically correct. So the concept is, if you follow me this far, that's the circle fifths. I would like to express that when you play the circle fourths, circle fifths, it kind of denotes where your fourths are. When you see 2 notes together, it is a 4th going one way and a 5th going the other. Now let's test that theory. How about B, E? Okay, here's a B note, here's an E note. Minor second, minor second, minor second, minor second, minor second. Well, how many was that? Minor, major second, minor third, major third, perfect 4th. So if your perfect 4th is this way, your perfect 5th is the other way. Your left hand and right hand will associate with that when playing piano, and it works quite well when you're playing bass as well. This comes to a point where all this should make a little bit more sense, but I want to go through one more key observation. If you've already seen this before, you can tune out now. However, I would love if you stayed with me for this. I don't want to muddle this up too much, so I'm going to just show it like this. If I had, and you had, oh, that's a light color, thought it was darker, my bad. How about we go to purple? Because purple is the color of royalty. Yeah. All right. So we have a 1, We have a 2, we have a 3, we have a 4, we have a 5, we have a 6, and we have a 7. Now, I'm digging on the 7. 1, 4, and 5 are going to be majors. They have the seniority of having a 1, a 3, and a 5. When we look at any key, like C major up top here, we can look at the 7 notes that are right around it, and it gives us our spelling. So follow me through 3 different ways to use this. Figure out which one you enjoy, and then utilize that one last, after learning the 2 that you despise. C. Just why not? I'm gonna use another. Ooh, can't use that hand. Oh, gee whiz, that's painful. All right. C. When I put a D here, because we're gonna spell a scale. Well, how many notes are in the key of a scale? We already talked about it, 5, 6, 7, and then the 8 is the same. Notice how I didn't draw C here, because I'm just gonna say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do. I don't like seeing the 8th note. It jumbles my brain. So when we play C, D, and E, I give seniority to the interval or the position. We already went through these, but we stopped at a certain one. We said the median, right? So if we've got a tonic, we've got a subtonic, which is right next to it. It causes a little suspension in the notes. Hear how the note goes up? We also do that with the 4th. It's called the suspended 4th. Hear that awesome resolution when it comes down? You betcha. F, G. See how these are minors and I'm drawing these in lower cases? You don't have to do this, but what I would recommend is if you're going to go through the process of doing this in any other fashion, that you make it your own. I add a lot of information. I could add a lot more information to these items, but there's no real need to do that. I could draw constructions over here as well. Anybody would like to see what the D, F, and A are? I'm gonna get rid of the major triangle. Also in jazz, if you've never seen that, triads. Remember the aforementioned 1, 3, 5? The reason why we have 1, 2, 3 on there in jazz notation and in musical notation, sometimes you'll see a triangle and it represents just a major. When you see a dash like that, it just means minor. You also sometimes see a name of a note and then a little M. That also means minor. Heck, sometimes you even see it spelt out. M-I-N over here, 1, 3, 5, but you betcha I gotta flatten that 3rd. So when we flat that 3, we're gonna be left with this concept. In the key of C major, no sharps, no flats. If we play that triad and go up, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, we could start spelling chords. C major would be C, E, and G, right? And to be correct here, it does not matter what these are major, minor. D, F, and A, E, G, and B. And see how fast I'm flying through here? Wasn't always that way. The concept is you use this as a mechanism of going, okay, A, C, E, ace. B, skip C, land on D, F. And then when you realize that in the key of B minor or D major that a B minor has an F sharp, you don't make the mistake of having an F natural anymore, because B diminished is only really found in the key of C major and its relative minor, A minor, which brings us to our next point. When going through the process of here, just gonna get rid of its triads because we know how to see them now. The diminished that we had over here was spelled by having a 1 flat 3 and then a flat 5. A minor 3rd plus a minor 3rd. B, D, and F. B, D, and F have that feeling. They can give you a very auspicious, that's not right, here we go. How about this? If we had a D major, we would take it, how about this? C major's right here, C, E, and G. Let's flatten the E and let's flatten the G. C, E flat, G flat. Ooh, that C diminished leads right into our next major, C sharp major. The concept is you're utilizing this as a moving, lending, leading tone. So root or the tonic, subtonic, median decides major or minor. We have our subdominant. Now, I don't want to get too much into this, but the chords that hold the most tension inside this construction of a major are the 5 and the 7. We use those kind of to move around. There is a way to look at music as a harmonic progression, which is really super cool, because you see that while you have your 1, you want to start with certain numbers like a 3, you utilize a 6, certain numbers work well together, like the 2 and the 4, 5 and the 7 are something that we use intermediately, and you always really want to resolve to the 1. So long story short, that's a whole different channel. When we're going through the process here, we're seeing our diminishes, that 1, flat 3, flat 5, and the only chord that's not really in here that we didn't really talk about was a half diminished as well, and an augmented. We'll get into that as well, but I want to throw up the construction for at least an augmented so you can see that a 1, 3, 5 is a major third, but then it has an awkward 5th. That awkward 5th is quite simply part of the process. Minor 2nd, major 2nd, minor 3rd, major 3rd, perfect 4th, augmented 4th or flat 5th if you're going down that way, perfect 5th, there's that augmented 5th. So a 1, 3, 5, sharpened. The mystery man was seated in the... Okay, here we go. When we see these as being something that we use all over the place, C, D, E, F, G, A. This is the second way. This is the one way I really prefer to see chords and learn them because it goes in the head and then I see this while I'm playing. I also learn it from the A minor, making the A minor the 1, making the 2 the diminished. See where I'm going with this? That makes the 3rd the major 3rd. Don't want to get in too much on describing what a natural minor is, but what I do want to tell you is that when you play a C, it's the same as an A minor. When you play a G, it's an E minor. Again, I'm going to draw these in lowercase because when going through the process of seeing what the majors and the minors are, you want to have a clear description. Here's a good one. If E major has a C sharp, because one of the sharps is a minor, it's the minor 6th. If you see the C sharp as being the minor of E, what pray tell would be the minor of E flat? Well, heck, you just flatten C. Well, there goes Margaret. Sorry about that. C minor. Thusly, if F sharp has D sharp minor, F must have D minor. When we follow the process going through here, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp. Oh, gee whiz! G sharp is our minor 6. That must mean in B, we have G minor, which is why it's super fun to know how to play in B flat because G minor, C minor, and D minor played together are miraculous. When we play in an A flat, you can see where we're going with this. Some of my favorites are here. The C flat, this is an easy one. C, A minor. So C flat, A flat minor. C sharp, A sharp minor. See how it's easy to remember where these are, what they are? The next thing is just knowing what their scale positions are by utilizing both this and this. But let's not leave anybody out here. When we go through, what we hear? D sharp, so G's minor is E minor, right? So G flat would be E flat minor. D, B flat, I'm sorry, B, so D flat is a B flat minor. Groovy. And then A, of course, when we go to A is F sharp, so F minor. When you are playing, you will see that when you're doing something like, when I was afraid, couldn't look you in the eye, just like an angel, skin make me cry. You can move that down a half step and know exactly what chords you're playing. It's the same progression, it's just in a different key. When you kind of utilize every progression you know and every scale, in every key, it builds muscle memory. This is a forgotten part of the muscle memory that we should do at least once a month, once a week. I mean, I do it every day. I love it. However, if you go through the process of seeing this and recreate it, it doesn't get as jumbled. You actually just start remembering G major, G flat. They become kind of this kind of idea where you see progressions. So going through the whole process of what I just did here, the third way to see the circle after we just defined what all of our minors are the inside, you can use the relative minor to know where the majors are and know how progressions move. There are two to view this that I was taught. I'm going to show you both of which I despise. The second one is my favorite of the two. you choose. C goes to D, goes to E, goes to F, goes to G, goes to A, over to B, and you're done. C is the major, D is the minor, E is the minor, F is the major, G is the major, A is the minor, B is the diminished. You take the inner circle and hit that. There's no real other way of doing that besides doing all that nonsense and then seeing the B flat, canceling the flat, and making the B the diminished. That does work in the brain because when you're playing a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes, which is awesome, we use jazz resolutions with seventh notes, which means there's a fourth note, seventh chords, there's a fourth note, sometimes a fifth and a sixth, depending on the chord. But we don't really have a B diminished. We flatten that B diminished to not the major seventh, but the minor seventh, which resides in between here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I went to B flat and played a B flat major 7, it works quite well. It's another great way to resolve. If I had to pin it, I would call it like a backdoor resolution. All right, going through the process again of seeing this as both of these. You could use the mechanism of dun 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 dun, or magically, if you played a B flat major 7, you have your weird chord, you get your major note, and then throw out your 7th. Well, what's your major 7th? Stretch. We have an A. So here is the second way. C is in the middle. What are the two notes to the left and right of this chord? F and G. Wonderful. Those will be the three majors, C, F, and G, the 1, 4, and 5. The root, the tonic, the subdominant, the dominant. We've seen that these go tonic, root. This is our minor second, minor third, but they're called the subtonic, the median. This is the subdominant, thusly the fifth is the dominant. This is our natural minor. It's the relative key of our 1, but we call this our submediant. We'll explain that later, but sometimes this 6, whether it's played as a major 6 or a minor 6, determines the type of seniority of a chord with another chord. I know it's heavy. Whoop-de-doozles. However, follow this path, do it daily, and by the time that this does start making a little bit more sense, there are a plethora of resources out there on the internet to Google these terms and to find out a little bit more. Don't just take my explanation for this. Get way more information by doing your own research. Just utilize this as a beginning step. Okay, so when we're going through the process seeing this, we've talked about these three. I like this one more than I like going like this and then utilizing that, or this one over here. It's a brain mechanism. I would say that these three are your majors. C, F, and G is going to be your root. This is your subdominant, and this is your dominant. When we go down to the next three shall be your minors. In the key of C, we had D minor, A minor, and E minor, not in that order, but we would have a D minor, an E minor, and an A minor. Absolutely. So when we see this process, and this, because this will be the last thing I kind of draw on the board, gonna do it in orange. Well, I'm gonna take F all the way down here to B. Ooh, don't touch the markers, yuck. And I'm gonna circle 7 notes around that C, one of which is gonna go right here. This is how you see an Ionian mode. Ionian, yeah. And because that probably doesn't look great from over there, I'm gonna do something really weird with this because I'm not an artist. It might look stupid, might look good. An Ionian is exactly what you think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it resolves back to the 8. Boom. That is a major scale, which is otherwise referred to as Ionian. When you shift this anywhere, you get another scale. If I take this as my 1, and now my 1's here, shifted this over, I would now include F sharp, not F, and I would include C. I would have G major, A minor, B minor, not gonna go to my diminished yet, C major, D major, E minor, and then the diminished, F sharp diminished. You could do this mechanism anywhere. If you went over here and you played it at B flat, you would also have the 2 notes next to it are gonna be the majors of the chord. 1, 4, 5. When you see that the next 3, A flat, D flat, and G flat are going to be the minors of the chord, you see, oh, cool. And then C flat would be your demi. Or we would be going through the process of seeing what's the note right before. We could say an A dim would come because we're moving over across the side of the circle. F major, we'd have F and B flat. F major, G minor. See what we're doing here? F, G. Here's our fourth. Here's our fifth. When we skip here and we go to our sixth, we have a D minor, which is also defined right here. So you have multiple different mechanisms inside the circle fifths, which show you where the seniority of the chords are. And when we go through the process of seeing this daily, chord progressions come a little bit easier. And just so this isn't a loss on you, why do we learn how to do all this stuff? Yeah, we do all this stuff in hopes that when we play a progression in the key of C as being a 1, 4, 5, 1 progression, we would be able to take that to another key utilizing the circle fifths just drawn. And if we're not digging it, we can move that same mechanism to, let's say, G. G, A, B, C. D, G. G major, A minor, B minor, C major, major fourth. D, major fifth. G, same as the 1. So the progression is what you learn. The key signature is what you play over the chords. G major, you could have your C major, you could have your D major, and then back to your G. The notes and scales you would solo over the top of these in the key of C, you could have a 7th and include that B flat, the minor 7th, because the major 7th we know is a B. We could also include a flat 5 to feel some bebop Dorian. Throw a B diminished in there and resolve right back to our C. Fun. If we're going through the process of seeing that, we could actually throw 7s on each one of these chords. At the end here, if we want to split the difference, we could throw a sus and then resolve to a C again, or not. There's a lot of stuff you can do with music. Should be fun. But whatever you do down here, you absolutely could do to the same chords over here. That makes no diff, you know? The thing that you'll find here is, this is another explanation, but inside of our dominant process, if you make the 5 chord, in this case, the 5 chord in the key of C is G. If you make it a 7 chord, it sounds a whole heck of a lot like our B diminished. It's because when we do that in a G major and then add its 7th quite literally is a diminished. I think that's enough for theory circle fifths today. If you have any questions about these items, please reach out in the comment section. I'll get back to you. And if I don't know the answer, I will ask my teacher and get to you. Aloha.